Welcome into the Inside Scoop. We're live here in Nashville, Tennessee, and I'm your host, Josh Newberg, and we got another fun episode today. Yes, number one quarterback, Bryce Underwood. There's rumors swirling. We are going to cover it on today's show. But before we get going, guys, do me a favor right now. Jump on board and hit subscribe because we got about 1 month till signing day, and you know it's going to get crazy down the stretch. So jump on board and hit subscribe to the On3 Recruits channel. All right, now, before we get into all this Bryce Underwood talk, we're also going to talk some Nebraska recruiting today, but I want to show you guys what the recruiting rankings look like. Remember, this is the On3 industry recruiting rankings. Right now, Alabama, number one, Ohio State, Georgia, LSU, Auburn. The Auburn Tigers sitting there at 5, Texas 6, Oregon, Tennessee, Texas A&M, and Miami at number 10. Miami wants more. We're going to talk some Miami recruiting in the show, too. USC at 11, Michigan, Oklahoma, Clemson at 15, Florida State. We were used to seeing them at 18. They have now fallen out of the top 10 or top 20. Georgia Tech, Ole Miss, and Washington. That is your current top 20 recruiting rankings. Like I said, we got to talk about overall number one quarterback Bryce Underwood. We're going to talk Michigan angle. We're going to talk LSU angle. Then we're going to get into some Miami and Nebraska recruiting as well. Big show. Let's get to it. Is Michigan going to flip Bryce Underwood from LSU? What? Yeah, you heard what I said. There are Bryce Underwood rumors out there, the number one player in America, the number one quarterback in America. He's been committed to LSU for 300 days as of Monday. But Tuesday, the 301st day, we're here to address some Bryce Underwood flip rumors. I got Holland from the Wolverine on this video, and we're going to break it all down. But first, make sure you guys are subscribed to the On3 Recruits channel. We're going to be talking Michigan recruiting all year long, so jump on board and hit subscribe. All right, let's bring in Holland from the Wolverine. And these aren't just rumors. I mean, at this point, you've written about it. On3's Pete Nakos has written about it. So let's talk about it. What are these recent talks about between Michigan and the Underwood camp?
Money. I give you a simple answer. It is money. I mean, it's, Michigan is kind of shifting its NIL approach, which I'm sure we'll talk about here in a second. But I think, early in this cycle, Michigan had the option to play the money game with Bryce Underwood. Instead, they ended up just taking Carter Smith, who they really, really like and hope stays in the class. But at the end of the day, they opted not to play the NIL game. And historically, Michigan hasn't done that. And didn't do that with Bryce Underwood initially when he gave that commitment to LSU. So I think it's been more money talks. I think it hasn't necessarily been the Michigan staff per se. It's been more so the boosters that are getting things aligned for this and the supporters of Michigan that are putting together an NIL package and a competitive NIL package for Bryce Underwood, one that matches or exceeds LSU's package. So, yeah, I mean, Sharon Moore has had some discussions, new general manager Sean McGee, who is kind of spearheading the NIL recruiting movement for Michigan. He's been involved as well, but this has been mostly just, dinner table meetings about what Michigan can offer from a financial standpoint.
Yeah. So when he committed, like you said, there was no real incentive to get in an NIL battle for Michigan, but he's been committed for 300 days. They've had a long time to think about it. And we've actually heard more about Michigan's NIL in recent weeks, especially as Barstool's Dave Portnoy came out and was talking publicly about, hey, raising the capital to pay a quarterback $3-4 million a year. But is this related to that? Is this Bryce Underwood situation related to what Dave Portnoy was talking about recently?
No, just to kind of clear things up with that, I think with Dave Portnoy, he really wanted to invest in a transfer portal quarterback. Obviously, that's not Bryce Underwood. He's still a high school senior. He would be an incoming true freshman. I mean, he is the number one player in the country. He's extremely talented. He's one of the best quarterback recruits I've ever seen. At the same time, I don't think Portnoy really wants a margin for error. He wants a proven guy out of the portal. So I know that there's been some discussion with Portnoy and Michigan, and he is very much willing to help. That is a very real aspect of Michigan's NIL push in the portal, which they're going to need more help than just quarterback. You have guys like Will Johnson, Mason Graham, Colston Loveland, Kenneth Grant, a lot of these key pieces leaving. So they're going to need to hit the portal hard regardless. But when it comes to Underwood, it's an outside group. I can't give too much details on who these people are, but they are not Dave Portnoy, but he is willing to help.
Okay. So talk to Michigan fans about this major NIL battle, because we haven't really seen this yet. So from what you're hearing, behind the scenes, do you think that Michigan can get in a competitive NIL battle with LSU over Underwood?
Well, I think that's the $1 million question. I think when you look at what Michigan has done historically, coming off, back to back playoff appearances, a national title, the recruiting results haven't really been up to par. I mean, you look at the last two classes, they were ranked number 15, number 18, respectively. So you didn't really get that natty bump. And I think a lot of it had to do with just not being really competitive in the NIL space. Michigan is not doing anything near what Miami or an Oregon or even a rival Ohio State is doing when it comes to NIL specifically for recruiting. I think there's been a shift. Desperate times call for desperate measures, right? When you look at what Michigan's doing on the field, especially at the quarterback position, it's very disappointing, especially considering what Michigan has been able to accomplish the last few years. I think people have realized, Jim Harbaugh's gone, J.J. McCarthy's gone. A lot of those talented pieces like Blake Corum and Junior Colson, they're gone. None of those guys are coming back. And those recruiting results that you had with the 15 and 18 classes that weren't up to par, those are the guys up next. So your talent's kind of dropping off from what you've been used to. And so, again, I think it's the results on the field and the poor quarterback play that's really opened the eyes for boosters around Michigan. And I think they are getting together and saying enough is enough. And I think, if you're Sharon Moore, you're already having some buzz from Michigan fans. It's pretty negative. So you want to, get involved in this and help, save your job for the future and get the program back in the right direction. And so, Sharon Moore has been the one that's kind of been leading the charge when it comes to Bryce Underwood. And I think, they will. They'll go against their nature. It looks like that's kind of the plan right now, to do something that Michigan hasn't historically done.
All right. So 2 questions. Have you heard anything regarding Bryce Underwood maybe wanting to stay closer to home? Because the way I see it is, hey, if the NIL dollars are equal, if Michigan can match what LSU can put on the table, then does location at all factor in? And also, EJ, do you think that Michigan needs to get Bryce Underwood on campus for this to be completed? Or can this be done, remotely via telephone, email, text, and all that?
Yeah. Starting off with the first question, just, is distance a factor? I still think money is more of a factor, obviously, but I think distance could play a role in terms of the family. I think there are a lot of people in Bryce Underwood's camp that are really close to Sharon Moore. They've been familiar with him dating back to his time at Central Michigan. He's always been a guy that's been very pro state of Michigan recruiting, has connections to a lot of high school coaches and key figureheads. And so I think they trust Sharon Moore. I think a lot of guys in the state are obviously Michigan fans by nature. And so I think there's some preference around his camp and maybe his family for him to stay a little closer to home. On the flip side of the coin, when I first talked to Bryce Underwood as a 14-year-old, he told me he always kind of dreamed of going down south. I think he likes the culture down at LSU. I think he likes the just overall vibe in Baton Rouge. I think he's connected really well with some of the other Southern prospects in LSU's class. So, I think that the distance may be a factor for those around Underwood, but I think Underwood himself is very comfortable going down to LSU and doing his own thing. I think with Michigan, they don't necessarily have to get him on campus. He was not seated with the recruits at the Michigan State game this weekend. I don't think that he necessarily has to make a recruiting visit. I think that, he's also 30 minutes down the road, so that he can covertly go down to Michigan at any point. I'm not saying he's done that, but it's obviously a possibility. But Sharon Moore's had discussions with him. I heard that they had a call here recently. They've let Carter Smith, the current quarterback commit, know that they are actively pursuing Bryce Underwood. So yeah, I mean, I think that the calls with Sharon Moore and Sean McGee, who I mentioned is the general manager leading the NIL recruiting push, those conversations will happen electronically, and maybe they do have an in-person meeting.
Right.
But more importantly, the boosters will be meeting remotely, and those are the talks that matter the most. And you have to think about it. Bryce grew up going to Michigan. He's been there 1,000 times. He doesn't really have to do a recruiting visit.
Yeah, especially since this sounds like more of a business decision. So what impact, you hit on Carter Smith. What impact is this having on Carter Smith, and could this have on Carter Smith?
Yeah, I think it's already having some impact on Carter Smith. Without getting too much into details there, I think they're still kind of processing things. Carter Smith was on campus this weekend when they let him know face to face, hey, we're recruiting Bryce Underwood. And then on Monday, I'm losing track of days here. On Monday, Sharon Moore had a call with Carter Smith's family and kind of reiterated that. But they also let him know, hey, we still want you in this class. But if you look at it from Carter Smith's perspective, it's like, okay, that's great. You still want me in the class, but will I really have a fair shot to compete? And Carter Smith is a competitor. He's not really afraid of anybody. But if a guy's getting paid potentially north of $5 million, which is what NACO's reported earlier today, if he's getting paid north of $5 million, you're starting that guy. There's no competition. There's no fair fight. So if you're looking at it from that perspective, does it make sense to still go to Michigan? I think that's something that Carter and his family are definitely weighing right now. I'm not saying that a decommit is coming or that even visits to other schools are coming, but I think they were kind of maybe caught off guard a little bit that this.
It gives you something to think about for sure.
Yeah, definitely. It's not just an internet rumor anymore. Right. It's what I posted yesterday. It's a real situation.
Yeah, they told him in person. I mean, they came to him and told him. So of course he's going to think about it. So, all right, well, let's wrap this thing up because I'm sure Michigan fans want to know, EJ, when do you think we'll know something on Underwood? Is this a development that's going to be stewing all the way to the December 4th signing day? Or do you think that we'll have some sort of resolution one way or another before then?
It's really tough to say. I think when you have these types of deals where it's more so an outside group, and it's really not even, Michigan's official collective, right? It's more of an outside group. So I think when you have these back and forths and these business deals where you have to cross T's and dot I's and there's a lot of money involved, it probably goes a little longer. And I'm sure LSU is going to do whatever it takes to counter, and Michigan will have to recounter, and you'll have a lot of negotiations. And so, yeah, this could go on, until December 4th. And that really, it's not that far away. That's a month away. So, it could get resolved before then maybe, but, definitely honor before December 4th. Bryce Underwood is an early enrollee, so I'm assuming he is going to make that decision at that point. So we'll see. I think it's just going to be kind of a back and forth NIL battle, which is absolutely insane to say, given how Michigan has approached NIL. I mean, up until a couple of weeks ago, Michigan was approaching NIL. They were taking steps forward. They were baby steps. But they've gone from baby steps to trying to do an Usain Bolt sprint. Like, it's insane the shift they've done.
Hey, if you've watched Michigan's quarterback play on the field, I think you'll understand why this seismic shift is happening. But either way, you're right, EJ. I mean, you've been on this channel dozens of times on here talking about how Michigan just doesn't have the resources to truly get into an NIL battle. But now the resources seem like they're there. The player, he must be important enough for all these people to come out of the woodworks and support it. But hey, it's happening. The Bryce Underwood rumors are here. They are real. So Michigan fans, talk to EJ and I, comment section below. How you feeling about this major development? I don't even know what to call it right now. It's not flip talk. I mean, we'll see what happens. What takes shape from this? Let us know. Is the flip going to happen? Comment section below. Are the Bryce Underwood rumors a real reason for concern for LSU fans. In this video, I got LSU insider Shea Dixon. He's been talking about this all week over on the Bengal Tiger, and we're going to talk about it right here. Number one quarterback, Bryce Underwood. There are rumors of him potentially flipping to Michigan. Find out. But first, guys, hit subscribe to the On3 Recruits channel. This is the best recruiting channel on all of YouTube. We need you LSU fans to jump on board. Hit subscribe for me, please. All right, let's bring in Shea Dixon from the Bengal Tiger. Shea, we got to 300 days of Bryce Underwood being committed on Monday, and that is the same day that all these rumors start spilling out. You guys wrote stories. EJ Holland at the Wolverine wrote stories. Steve Wiltfong, Pete Nakos. We got stories on Bryce Underwood. So, what are you hearing? Was this on your radar before the news broke on Monday?
I think Michigan's push has been going on since before Bryce even committed to LSU, right? He then picks LSU. They never give up on recruiting him. I think the reality is 300 days in, yes, but we're also a month to the early signing period. Remember, it's December 4th this year, Josh. So we would expect this to pop up of reports saying, hey, Michigan has at least made a competitive offer, has matched at some point LSU's NIL package. But I think as we monitor this with a number one recruit and kind of a discussion that you would expect to happen from a school like Michigan, where a five-star number one player is 30 minutes away and has not visited your campus in more than a year, what sort of push did you make to actually try to get him flipped? Now it's public that Michigan is trying or has tried, at least to some degree, to push the NIL efforts up in a big way and get into that same range or go back and forth with LSU. I think, Josh, for me, that's all expected. I go back to, if money's all about the same, if NIL is all about the same, why did he pick LSU over Michigan in the first place? And it was development. It was all of the things he talked about at On3 Elite in terms of his long-term future, throwing the football, LSU's offense. And none of that has changed since he committed. If anything, Jaden Daniels went out and became the best rookie in the NFL this year. And Nussmeier, yes, had a bad game in College Station, but a week ago led the entire NCAA in completions. So that's what a quarterback wants to see. And compared to Michigan, at least their offensive attack this year, stark difference. And I think that's a big reason why Bryce chose LSU in January.
Yeah, so you think this is purely anything that's up in the air right now, this is purely a business decision, or do you think there's anything that's gone on the field, because there's a lot of ups and downs during the season, do you think anything that's gone on the field has impacted what we're hearing today?
Well, if it is, it's in favor of LSU. Michigan certainly is much worse off than LSU this year. LSU, remember, they dropped that one with 8 seconds left in the opener out in Vegas, but LSU has one SEC loss going into the month of November. LSU is very much still in contention for the college football playoffs, while simultaneously, look, in year one with Sharon Moore, you're replacing guys from a national championship team. You've got new blood in the conference. That road bumps aren't shocking, but I don't think record-wise or offensive style, passing-wise, anything that a quarterback would watch out of both schools, especially one like Bryce being committed to LSU, would see at Michigan and favor more than what he's seen at LSU. And like I said, the added development of what he's seeing with a guy like Jaden Daniels.
Yeah. All right. So far, it's been a lot of speculation. We're speculating, we're guessing. Let's talk some facts. When is the next time LSU is going to be face-to-face with Bryce Underwood? Listen up, inside scoop watchers. We're talking Prize Picks. I love Prize Picks, and here's what I'm playing this week. I got Jeremiah Smith, the Ohio State wide receiver, more than 70.5 yards receiving. Dylan Gabriel, Oregon quarterback, more than 275.5 passing yards. And then I got running back Katron Allen at Penn State for more than 56.5 rushing yards. That's going to hit. I'm playing 20 to win 100. That's right. $20 wins you 100 on this bet. You guys going to play along with me? Let me know. Comment section below. I love Prize Picks. It's super easy. All you got to do is pick two or more players, then more or less on their projected stat line, and you can submit a lineup in less than 60 seconds. Here's the promo I'm going to give you right now. If you play $5, you're going to have a guaranteed $50 in your account. That's right. If you play $5 right now, You're going to have a guaranteed 50 in your account, whether you win or lose. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to go to prizepicks.com/inside scoop and use the promo code inside scoop to receive that guaranteed 50 when you play 5. Remember, Prize Picks, daily fantasy sports made easy.
Yeah, here's the good news for LSU. Beyond that, he's been committed, as you said, for more than 300 days and has not visited Michigan in a recruiting capacity for a full day, like a sit down with the staff, since Jim Harbaugh was the head coach in July 2023, and only visited Michigan once, not once since being committed to LSU, but once during the time that span, a year and a half. And that was for one half against Ohio State with some Belleville teammates, and they had to leave and get back home. So I think that it's set up well to this point. Now this Friday, Joe Sloan, LSU's OC, will use the bye week. They'll be up at in Belleville for round 1 of Bryce's senior year first playoff game. He's obviously been to the state title every year. He's been the quarterback. He's won a couple state titles. So Belleville is beginning that playoff run. And then next weekend, he is coming with not just mom and dad, but extended family for his official visit. He'll be in town for the Alabama game. That game is at night, 6:30 on ABC. So he'll have that Tiger Stadium experience. He had it a year ago at night when he came in for a game as well. And then after that, Josh, if Belleville's winning games, they're still in the playoffs all of the way up until the back end of November. And with signing day on December 4th, it doesn't leave a lot of room or time, I should say, for other teams, Michigan here, to make moves. So for me, unless there's a change of plans and he doesn't go to LSU's official, which is not expected, or does he pop up at Michigan on an official or a game, that right now would be more surprising than the news that Michigan is being competitive in a market like NIL.
So let's answer the question that I posed at the top of this video. What is the level of concern, or I should say, what should be, Shea, the level of concern for LSU fans?
I always say watch what they do and not what they say. And in Bryce's case, what he's done and what he said has been nothing but positive for LSU. He has said all the right things, including, again, at On3 Elite. He sat in the chair that you're sitting in and talked about NIL and how it plays into his recruitment and how LSU's development and all of that is a big reason. And fit. He just said, look, I think I fit the culture of LSU as a person, as a kid, as an 18-year-old, 17-year-old. Going into college, all of those factored in here, relationships with Joe Sloan and the staff, but nothing's concrete in recruiting. We know that. So 1 to 10, you can't start at 10. So I go to 9, but now we're in this NIL era, right? And you've got a guy like Bryce Underwood who's 30 minutes away from Belleville to his hometown to Michigan's campus. I have to dock another point from NIL. So the most confident I'll give is an 8 of 10 because of those reasons, but I'd still be sitting at an 8. Again, Josh, until Bryce Underwood steps foot on Michigan's campus and talks about, hey, I'm on a visit, I'm meeting with the staff, I'm doing these things, then he hasn't deviated from what he has said all along, that he's committed to LSU and not visiting other schools.
Yeah. All right. There you have it. Shea Dixon, not very concerned at this moment, but LSU fans, you talk to us. What is your level of concern? Let us know. Comment section below. We got to talk some more Miami recruiting as the Canes. They are undefeated. Recruiting momentum is picking up, and this weekend they got another home game as Duke comes to town. Also, some big-name visitors on campus. So before we get going, hit subscribe, Miami fans, to the On3 Recruits channel. This is the best recruiting channel on all of YouTube. We need you locked in. Hit subscribe. All right, let's bring in Izubee Charles from CaneSport. Izubee, after one exciting weekend, we're heading right into another. We got Duke coming to town. The Canes are undefeated. Recruits are on campus. But I want to kind of backtrack just a minute to last weekend. I know you guys over there at CaneSport talked to a ton of recruits. Is the narrative starting to change for Miami with the hometown recruits? Because as we know, those Miami recruits, they don't always give the Canes the benefit of the doubt. But now that they're winning, what are you hearing from hometown recruits?
Yeah, no, the in-state prospects are definitely, loving what they're seeing from the Canes. And like you mentioned, especially a lot of South Florida guys, over Mario Cristobal's few years at Miami, he's really been telling these guys, just give me the time, once I bring in my players, you'll start seeing the results. And, I had the chance to speak with TJ Alford, who's right up the road up in Vero Beach. And he said all throughout his visits this summer, Coach Cristobal was telling him, hey, this is going to be the year, we're going to start making those strides and progressions. And you saw that on full display versus Florida State this past weekend, huge, 22-point win. And this is their second win against, in-state rival. They beat Florida by 24 points this year. So after the game, Coach Cristobal kind of emphasized, hey, these are the type of wins that shows recruits the progress you've made in the trajectory of the program. And I feel like what better way to do that than to beat, both your biggest in-state rivals to show recruits, where your program is headed.
Yeah, and I said this on this channel earlier in the week, but that was a very obvious statement that he made. But in recruiting, those little words, they go a long way. So speaking of this weekend, there's some big time prospects on campus, none bigger, figuratively or literally, than the number one offensive tackle in the 2026 class, Jackson Cantwell. Now, he's from the state of Kansas. What is bringing him down to South Florida this weekend? Hey, Inside Scoop fans and college football recruiting nuts, it's time to upgrade your audio game. You may have a pair of headphones you like, but the battery life, it's too short, or they just don't stay in your ears, or you don't want to spend hundreds of dollars every time you lose an earbud. Enter JLab. JLab is creating headphones, earbuds, and work accessories designed for everyday lifestyle. You guys know the best of the best are wearing them, from Travis Hunter to Ohio State's Will Howard to Quinshon Judkins. So, for travel, here's what we recommend. The JBud Luxe over-ear headphones. If you're working out, get the JLab JBuds Sport ANC4, offering a secure fit and a super long battery life for those tough workouts. Discover your perfect pair of headphones. Look for the JLab Blue Box at retailers everywhere, or visit jlab.com.
Yeah, so honestly, Miami's production on the field this year, he has a bye week this week. So he's going to be making it down to Miami on Friday, leaving Sunday. So spending a few days down in South Florida. Miami's making a pretty good push of him early, and they're doing a great job of building that relationship. Coach Mario Cristobal is involved. Coach Alex Mirabal, Miami's offensive line coach, is also involved in that. And he really wants to check out Miami. He's never been down there before, and that hot start has definitely caught his attention. So he wants to get a firsthand look at Miami, and will do so this weekend.
Yeah, number one offensive tackle in the class. Now, he's been to Georgia, he's been to Missouri, he's been to Texas A&M, he's been to Ole Miss. He's been around, so getting him on campus early at least ensures that the Canes have a fighting chance when he does go down to narrow his list of schools. Miami getting this visit's huge. Any other 2026 names on your radar right now?
Yeah, the number one tight end of the 2026 class, Kendra Harrison, is going to be making his return to Coral Gables this weekend. During the summer, he made his first trip to Miami. He had a lot of great things to say. I kind of asked about it because, Miami wasn't in his top 15 when he took that visit, down there to South Florida. He said he really, really got a different, perspective, and it kind of changed his view seeing Miami. He said he wanted to make it back on campus, and this is the weekend he's going to be back there. So another big-time prospect in that 2026 class. He absolutely loves what he's seen from Miami on the field. Says the city of Miami itself is great and somewhere he can see himself living in the future. So them getting him back this weekend is another big, move for the Hurricanes in that 2026 class.
All right, before I let you go, speaking of getting guys back on campus, last week we talked a lot about DJ Pickett. Obviously, he didn't make it in. You talked to his father, all that kind of stuff. So, as we're about 4 or 5 weeks from National Signing Day, is there any word on whether or not DJ Pickett is going to be back in Miami before signing day?
Yeah, so last time we spoke with his father, Damien, he said they were trying to make it out to this weekend versus Duke, but nothing's set in stone yet. If they don't get him out, in the next couple of weeks, I'm kind of losing faith in that battle a little bit. Obviously, we know LSU is where he's committed to right now, and the Hurricanes are trying a lot to flip him and keep him in state. But if they don't get him back on campus, I think that's going to be a real tough task to do just that. So unless Mario Cristobal and those guys can put a rabbit out of the hat right now, that DJ Pickett commitment to LSU looks pretty strong with him not making it, down to South Florida last week. So we're going to keep monitoring this one, but right now we don't have a set date when DJ Pickett might return to Miami.
Yeah, well, as well as all the Miami fans are going to be on DJ Pickett watch to see if he shows up at Hard Rock this weekend. We'll just have to wait and see, but you guys at CaneSport do a great job, so we will know immediately if he's there. Izubee, Charles, appreciate you dropping by the Inside Scoop before another busy weekend down in Miami.
Thank you guys for having me.
Let's talk Nebraska recruiting because there are some big name flip targets on campus this weekend as UCLA heads to Lincoln this weekend, and so are some top recruits. It's going to be a 2:30 local kickoff, so it's going to give plenty of time for these recruits to get to the sidelines and watch this one. In this video, I got Sean Callahan from Husker Online. We're going to break it all down, but first, Nebraska fans, do me a favor, hit subscribe to the On3 Recruits channel. This is the best recruiting channel on all of YouTube. So jump on board and hit subscribe. All right, let's bring in Sean Callahan from Husker Online. Now, Sean, 2:30 kickoff. Nebraska comes back home. What's the atmosphere going to be like for this one?
You know, I think 2 weeks ago I would have said I'm not sure, but I think the way Nebraska played at Ohio State, just that performance, I think has really kind of turned the thought process of what now this final month of the season is going to look like for the Huskers. People don't like 11 a.m. kicks here, so getting another 2:30 game. In fact, Nebraska hasn't had an 11 a.m. all year at home, and this is their sixth home game, with the Wisconsin game being their final. So it is going to set up for ideally a nice 60-ish degree fall afternoon in Lincoln, giving a lot of recruits plenty of opportunity to get to campus.
Yeah, and one of those recruits that's going to be there is Chase Lofton, the number 2 ranked player in the state of Nebraska. Now, early in the season, I asked you, hey, what's going on with Chase Lofton? You were just, Josh, there's nothing going on with Chase Lofton. Even though Florida State was struggling, there was nothing going on, but that has changed. Now Chase Lofton is trending heavily to the Huskers. What's gone on since about the beginning of the season to now to get Chase Lofton and Nebraska on track to maybe flip him?
Well, I think it's a number of things, but clearly Florida State's start to the season and just kind of where things are at with the Seminoles from where he committed a year ago or in the summer, it's different. And he's from Omaha, you know, and being able to play at Nebraska just makes a lot of sense. I mean, the Huskers do play 3 tight ends regularly in games right now with Matt Rule and what they do. And, you know, obviously NIL. I mean, I think Nebraska, to get a guy like Lofton, you have to be competitive because, you know, clearly then I think the Noles, to get him out of here and to beat other teams like Texas A&M that were involved, you know, there's quite an NIL market. So not only does Nebraska, I think, offer a great opportunity for him as a tight end, I think competitively too, as far as what it will take NIL to get a guy like him, they're going to be able to get that done as well. So it wouldn't surprise me at all if he ends up a Husker at some point here in the coming days ahead.
Yeah, what are we looking at? Because, hey, I mean, even if he took this thing all the way to signing it, that's only 4 or 5 weeks from now. But do you have Chase Lofton on flip watch this weekend?
I do. I don't know if it's this weekend, how it's all going to play out with him, but it's the only visit he's going to take. He's not going to go anywhere else. So there's just so many things that point that, hey, this is going to be a guy that probably ends up as a Husker. The fact that he's taking this late trip to Lincoln, and, you know, it's a different month ahead. Signing day, as you said, is 2 weeks earlier on the first Wednesday in December. Coaches will not be able to go out on the road and conduct in-home visits before the signing day this year. So it's different than what we've seen in years past. So this activity of him coming to Nebraska, to me, really shows his cards probably in what direction things are heading.
Yeah, and the experts have already put their picks in. It seems like it is just a matter of time until Nebraska completes that flip. Now, there's also going to be some really important 2026 prospects. One of the best running backs in the country, Brian Bonner, is going to be on campus for another visit. How's Nebraska doing with these prospects for the 2026 class and any other important names we need to know about?
Well, they've had a lot of top guys make their way to campus, especially from the surrounding states. When you look at South Dakota, Kansas, Missouri, Colorado, Iowa, they've really had all the top prospects from those states come. But we've also seen, you know, Matt Ludwig come on campus. I think he's one of the best tight end athlete prospects for 2026. And that is kind of what game days now are more focused on. You know, you're more or less done with 2025. 2026 is kind of the priority at this point. With a lot of these game day visitors, you want them to come on like this Bonners is doing, and then get them back again sometime between January and March, April, get them back for a second visit, then get them back for that official visit in June. I mean, that's kind of the roadmap for Nebraska that they have to follow, is get these players here at least 3 times, once during the season, once in the spring, winter, and then once in the summer. And that's generally the best formula they have to get a guy to commit.
Yeah. All right, before we wrap it up, I just got to ask, because we did not mention him and his name's not on the visit list, Michael Terry III, the 5-star out of the state of Texas. Is there any chance that Nebraska can get him back to campus before signing day? Hey, Inside Scoop fans, if you're heading out to the FSU or UNC game this weekend, whether you're cheering on the Tar Heels or the Seminoles on November 2nd, plan for a pit stop at the Whataburger food truck during your tailgate. Get ready to watch the game by securing an easy W first with a hot, fresh Whataburger, that is. No matter who comes out top, when you take your team to Whataburger, you know what it'll feel like to be a winner by getting your food made fresh, your way, hot, every time, 24/7. We'll see you at the game, and we'll see you at Whataburger.
Never say never. But they've got him on campus plenty of times this year. It's just a matter of kind of his timeline and his process. And obviously, I think the NIL market, Texas, Oregon, but I think mainly Texas are the players right now, along with Nebraska. So him, and I would be remiss too if I didn't mention Dawson Merritt, the linebacker commit to
Absolutely.
Alabama. Matt Rule did visit him during the bye week a couple of weeks ago. That was the only recruit Matt Rule went out and saw. I do think that is another guy that you have to continue to watch. Nebraska just got Juju Marks out of Kansas City. They already have Isaiah Mosey. And I just think the Kansas City area, with Jamar Mosey now on this staff, the former Lee Summit North High School head coach, they've made a lot of inroads there. So keep your eyes again on Dawson Merritt as well for Nebraska here in this class of 2025.
Yeah, we were on with Steve Wiltfong on the Wiltfong Whip Around on Monday, and Steve said just that he thinks there's a better chance that Dawson Merritt ends up at Nebraska than Alabama. So we'll just have to see how all this plays out. But those are some big-time flip targets on the radar. So Nebraska fans, talk to us. How are you feeling about Chase Lofton this weekend? This would be a huge opportunity for Nebraska to flip him. Talk to us. Do you think it's going to go down? Let us know. Comment section below.